Okay, so Linus versus Kayhan is really super awesome match. I love railing it, and I love analyzing the hands between them. I think on the flop, both can mix their actions here, whether it's betting or checking or calling or check raising. I think the turn Kayhan is gonna have a pure bet with a lot of hands. Like it's pretty good card for his range, I suppose, and his combo I think is required to bet purely there. And I think the river is also a mandatory bluff for Kayhan. Decides to shove, and Linus calls relatively quickly. He always tanks, and now he calls pretty quickly with the 7-7, which I do think the solver will fold purely. I mean, the 7-7 of course is blocking, the straights very well, but also probably blocking a lot of bluffs. And with the shove, I think Kayhan is mostly representing flushes and is mostly shoving the flushes for the value part. And so not blocking the flush, I think the 7-7 will be a fold on the river. So it seems Linus made some sort of soul read, but let's quickly dive into the solver, and because I would love to be surprised. Okay, so the solver was choosing the sizes really close to what they did on the flop. And Linus, with his pocket sevens right here, is 50-50 in betting or checking. However, Kayhan, he can check raise a lot with the queen 7 with the queen of spades, but he had this one with the 7 of spades. And that is actually a close fold. So we're gonna have to note lock that. I'm just gonna put 25%, the rest fold for, his combo right here, which is this one. Apply. It's only a small tweak, so the rest of the range should be pretty much GTO, so this should be fine. And it was a close fold anyway, so his mistake wasn't too bad, especially against opponents that are gonna be over folding to barrels and whatnot. So it's, I guess, kind of a viable play. The 7s is, of course, pure calling. 3 of spades. Now, I thought that this was a mandatory barrel for Kayhan, and that, and that he's, it should be a pretty good card for his range. He's indeed barreling a lot with his range. The solver chooses exactly the sizing that Kayhan chose, so that's really good. Okay, with the 7 of spades, it's not a mandatory barrel. However, with the queen of spades, it pretty much is. It's really that much of a difference. But yeah, we do see a significant range advantage here for Kayhan, the light blue line. That's why he gets to barrel a lot with his range, 65%. But I thought that this was still with the low flush draw and the open ender, that this one was a mandatory barrel, but it's not. He still has a lot of hands that just want to check. I mean, it's sort of flush board. It's very dynamic. So I guess he just needs to balance. And there's a lot of draws that are much better, like these higher flush draws with an open ender, like the A7 and the Queen 7, the Queen of Spades, like we just saw. Those are all preferred, and so the Queen 7 sort of lags behind there in that it needs to be balanced enough that these sort of weaker equity, lower equity draws need to check a little bit more. Okay. 7s. Wow, that's interesting. I didn't know this was such a high frequency raised. With the spade, the 7s is just a calling, but without the spade, we can see it's really close between all 3 actions, and it's really raising a lot. That is, it's just blocking the straight, I guess, and it just has, folding out a lot of better hands. I guess a lot of 9s will still be betting and bet folding. You probably can see right here, and indeed, even with the spade, a lot of 9s are just folding to the raise that Linus is able to make with his 7s. So that's pretty interesting. I guess he's just blocking all these straights. Why, we can see here the 7-4, 8-7. Yeah, and still a lot of these solid draws are also still calling and whatnot. So yeah, that's an interesting race with the 7s here. I mean, very high frequency race. Yeah, that's okay. Linus does call. Now, I do think the Queen 7 is a mandatory bluff. And Okay, but interestingly, very interestingly actually, the queen 7 with the queen of spades is mixing, whereas indeed with the 7 of spades is a pure bluff, and that probably has to do with the amount of queen X draws that were unblocking. You know, we see here a lot of, and this is Linus, right? This is Linus range has a lot of queen of spades folds, right? Drawing that on the turn there, including even the queens with the spade that are folding a lot. This whole stream is a, you know, obviously a pretty big part of the folding range, which we're blocking with this combo, right? With the queen of spades. The queen 7 with the queen of spades is blocking all of those folds, whereas the 7 of spades is unblocking those. I guess it's that kind of logic. Of course, it's also a matter how many flushes we're blocking, but that seems to be relatively equal. Maybe even a little bit more flushes blocking with the 7 of spades even. So, okay, so the river is a very mandatory bluff for Kayhan. And yeah, we can clearly see that the lower spades are now better. On the turn, the higher spades were better, probably just because of the equity, much higher equity, right? Flush over flush type of situations. Whereas on the river, of course, drawing is not a thing anymore, and it's now about the total blocker war, where we're, you know, the lower spades are much better, unblocking way more folds, whereas the higher spades are, you know, blocking those folds. So that's interesting how that shifts from the turn to the river. But yeah, so Kayhan did make the very correct shove, and it's very, very mandatory, right? The queen 7 with the queen of spades is full on mixing, whereas the 7 of spades, it would be a huge mistake to give this up. So that's a huge difference, and we just saw how much you know, how much the queen of spades is part of Linus' folding range, which we're blocking with these ones and unblocking with the 7 of spades. So that's huge there. But now, of course, we get to the decision like whether Linus should call with the 7-7, and I still think not. We can see that the straights are mostly going for the smaller sizing. Okay, but there's still some shoves there. A little bit, but the 7-4 is not shoving. The 8-7 can shove, it's mostly going for the smaller sizing. But yeah, we can clearly see still a lot of bluffs here. Jack 7, Queen 7, King 7, A7, right? We're unblocking a lot of bluffs. 7-3 right here. So I think Linus has a very pure fold on the river to the shove, and it's not even close, but he made a really awesome soul read. Yeah. Okay, so with the 7 of spades is already mixing. And yeah, without the spade, indeed the 7s are. It's not as far of a difference in EV as I thought. I thought it would be like 4 big blinds or something. It's still pure fold, but it's closer than I thought. But of course, Linus just made an awesome soul read, so yeah, good job him. And I mean, it's right, you know, maybe Kayhan is over bluffing because he wasn't supposed to check raise the flop. I note lock this. Then he's supposed to mix the turn. So if he's, yeah, over check raising the flop like that, over barreling the turn, and then over bluffing the river, then I think, yeah, and maybe Linus realized that. He called pretty quickly and made the correct call with a GTO fold combo. So I mean, super good read by Linus. He probably realized Kayhan was over bluffing. He probably was. So I think in this case Linus quite owned Kayhan. So good job there. Hope to see much more of them in the future. I think they're very competitive, and hope you like this video. Thank you for watching.